What is up, YouTube? Today I wanted to share a very interesting matchup that I played. This is game two. We're playing in the. This is the mirror match, and this is the list that I have been playing for a couple of days now. And you can check the link below if you wanna see it. But I wanted to present today with some it's another instance of matchup close. The idea for these videos is I want to just by myself go really deep into some matches that I thought were interesting in some way or another, and I can very in detail go over every single decision that I make, why I am making these decisions, what I'm trying to play around, and what I'm trying to to capitalize on in order to come out ahead. So as I was saying, this is game two. I already won game one, and we're playing the mirror match. The sideboarding went as follows. I took out one Grazer, two Steerings, one Forest, one Bog, one Castle, and one Radiant Fountain. And what came in is let me see if I remember this. Um, let's actually check it out in the meantime. So what comes in is going to be the second field, the Cavern of Souls, the Remnant Excavator, the Reclamation Sage, and two Dismembers and one Disdainful Stroke. This is something that I'm not very sure about, but I'm just messing around with things. I'm still getting familiar with this new list. Stuff like the Disdainful Stroke has a lot of promise in the mirror match, but if you know that your opponent is going to be bringing in two Cavern of Souls, then of course the value of the Disdainful Stroke goes down considerably. So I'm still trying to find a balance in my sideboard plans, but this is what I will be playing for today's match at least. So we are met with this hand, which I reluctantly keep. My opponent on turn one, they lead on Once Upon a Time. They're going to reveal the Castle Garenbrig, play Cavern on Snake on turn one, and they're going to play their Scout. So that's going to be turn one. I lead on Once Upon a Time. And here we are met with some interesting choices. Of course, Ghost Squatter is very relevant in the mirror match. And so is Tolaria West, right? Because this would represent the second blue source for our in order to transmit this first Tolaria West. I already have a Sacred Drive Scout, so of course I'm not interested in that. But the choice is basically between these three. In the end, because I am short on lands and I'm short on green sources for castle, what I end up going with is the Vesuva, because I am assuming that my opponent will give me some juicy targets. And any bounce land basically means that the Vesuva it's a bounce land, right? Because I can just copy my opponent's. So I name Shaman with my scout and then pass it to my opponent. My opponent plays an Amulet of Vigor. Then they play their bounce land, and they're going to now play an Ancient Steerings, which is going to yield a Tolaria West. So now I know that my opponent is going to have access to a Titan. So yeah, so far I know about Castle Garenbrig, and I know about the Tolaria West from my opponent. Let's see if this... Alright, my opponent finally resolves the Steerings. And then we draw a very interesting one in Dismember. I think about this for a second, then I decide that I want to use this right now. My best chance of winning this game is stopping my opponent from playing this Titan, which I know they have. So in order to try to lay that for the longest time possible, I choose to go for the Dismember on the Scout. And my opponent will flash in a land in response. Excuse me. So they do play the Tolaria West, it untaps, and then the Scout dies. I play the Castle and then pass it to my opponent. So turns goes by, and now my opponent untaps. Now they play a Simic Growth Chamber, which basically, knowing that my opponent has an Amulet in play, and the fact that they did play the T-West end step instead of the Castle, basically says to me that my opponent has another bounce land in hand. So I am trying to play around that. My opponent is going to be using this turn in order to transmute their Tolaria West, which I guess they could have used with the blue mana. So I guess they misclicked and they tapped wrong. So they go and they get the Summoner's Pact. So now I know that not only am I facing a Titan, but I'm also facing a Titan next turn because of the castle, right? So because of that, I basically go into try to delay my opponent's Titan for as long as possible. I look at my hand, and of course I have no path towards a Titan. So um, basically this is me trying to change gears and basically entering survival mode, okay? And it's try to figure out, okay, what can I do in order to delay the game so my opponent does not kill me, basically, right? Especially with an Amulet in play, I know that my opponent's Titan is going to be very powerful and is going to be attacking and doing a bunch of nasty things to me. So now that I know that I drew a Raminec Excavator, I am a little bit sad that I didn't take the Ghost Quarter earlier, but again, I'm trying to reassess and try to see what is the best route for me. What I end up choosing to do is pacting for a Reclamation Sage in order to destroy my opponent's Amulet. If they have a bounce land in hand, then this is going to delay the Titan for one more turn. If they have, I know that they have a castle, so the castle is going to enter the battlefield tapped. My opponent is not going to be able to Titan me next turn, and it gives me a chance to come back. I feel very, very far behind at this point. So this is basically the only way that I can expect to be at least not as far behind. Even if I'm not, I don't feel like I can get ahead at this point yet. So my opponent, as expected, they play the tapped castle. Which really, makes me feel very smart about my decision. And now, finally, end of turn, I'm going to flash in the Field of the Dead. On my turn, we pay for upkeep, playing the castle and the Semi-Growth Chamber. And at this point, I am, I'm just trying to use my mana here. I am going to play a Raminec Excavator. There's not really anything that we can do here. But I'm trying to set myself up in the best situation in case I draw either a bounce land, which is going to allow me to find the the Primeval Titan next turn. And that no attack was a misclick. I still remember this match happened like 4 days ago or something. I still remember that misclick. So I wanted to attack there. Again, my opponent has no Titan, so I'm assuming that I'm not gonna get attacked next turn. They have no Amulet. Sorry. So my opponent goes about their turn. Basically, they tap for mana, they play a Titan, they fetch a couple of lands. It was Boros Garrison plus something else, and then they play Boros Garrison plus Tolaria, sorry, and then they play another land. Also, my opponent did not use the pact. That is actually important because my opponent does not need to pay for pact on their next turn. So I feel like my opponent is going to actually get to do stuff next turn. So I'm actually feeling a little bit behind at this point. So I top the Ghost Quarter, which is actually a very deceptively good draw. And here I make another mistake. The very first thing that I should have done is I should have actually flashed in the Ghost Quarter with the with the Sakura Trap Scout, which then allows me to play the Azusa and play the Ghost Quarter multiple times if I need to, thanks to the Raminec Excavator, obviously. So since I'm not going to be able to destroy my opponent's lands, because I destroy this and I destroy this, and then my opponent has 2 basics, and then I know that they have a bounce land in hand, so they're probably going to be able to recoup anyway. So instead of doing that, I do kind of like a tricky play here, which we can see right now. So again, this is a mistake, but it's the play still remains relevant. So check this out. So basically, we play the Ghost Quarter first. It triggers the field. We get a zombie, and now what I'm going to do is I'm trying to find a bounce land, right? Because I'm trying to set up a Titan for next turn. So what I do is I am going to float the mana from the Semi-Growth Chamber for the Vesuva, actually. I play the Azusa. I feel very far behind, so I don't feel like I can play around Dismember or anything like that, so I'm simply just playing my cards, basically, at this point. So I float the mana, I play the Azusa with blue mana floating. I go ahead, I Ghost Quarter targeting my own Vesuva, What this does is this allows me to get a bounce land in my graveyard, right? Because I can copy my opponent's Simic Growth Chamber. So I go and I fetch a basic force of the Ghost Quarter. Now I get to replay the Ghost Quarter, and I get to replay the Vesuva, copy my opponent's bounce land in order to set up a Titan for the following turn. So at this point, I have my zombies going. I have not an irrelevant board state, though I'm still facing a Primeval Titan on the other side of the battlefield, so that never feels good, you know? So opponent goes ahead, and I go ahead and I fetch the stuff, so I pass a turn. Of course, I'm not attacking into a prime time. My opponent starts the turn by pacting for a Titan. They cast the Titan. They, of course, are not going to They're of course not going to make it uncounterable because they have perfect information, so there's no reason for them to. Sometimes the motor replay tool is a little bit weird. Okay, unfortunately, I was not able to fix the issue. So basically, what happens is my opponent plays a second Titan. They start going the field route, but I start using my Ghost Quarter in order to answer my opponent's lands, while at the same time starting to pull ahead thanks to Field of the Dead. I'm going to pack for another Titan, and I start slowly but surely pulling ahead, while my opponent is not able to basically they are not able to stay ahead because of the zombies and the fact that I destroyed their amulet on turn 3, I think, or on turn 4 with my reclamation sage. And basically the entire game kind of like started slowly but surely. My opponent was it took a second before they finally actually fell behind, but slowly but surely, I was crawling back into the game by trying to hedge small little advantages here and there, and it eventually got to the point where I basically cast multiple Primeval Titans. I am interacting with my opponent's lands thanks to the recurring Ghost Quarter, thanks to Remnant Excavator. This is precisely why you want to sight in Bojugabog in the mirror, by the way. This is actually a very powerful combo, especially when paired with Azusa. So that is basically the idea. And finally, I mean, I wish I could go through like every single play, but yeah, unfortunately, the Moto replay tool sucks. So I suspect that what I will try to do in the future is to simply like record a video of the replay tool and then go over the video. I saw Goldukat making a video like that, and I thought it was an interesting idea to get around how bad the Moto replay tool is. But yeah, it's unfortunate that the video is going to finish in a little bit of a anticlimactic fashion, but it's still I think that it was interesting, and I wanted to talk about this specific matchup because I like when you were looking at the game on turn 3, I was kind of feeling like my opponent was far and away the favorite to win the game. But with little plays here and there, and of course a big help from the top of the deck, right? Like that naturally drawn Ghost Quarter ended up being pretty massive. Not only because it allowed me to get access to a bounce land that I otherwise would not have had access to, but it also because it allowed my opponent to I was able to stop their Tolariwas engine by destroying it with Ghost Quarter, while at the same time making sure that my zombie production was vastly superior than my opponent's, and eventually the zombies took over and allowed me to attack for lethal. I Again, I apologize that the video was not able to finish in the best possible way, but I will try to continue making some YouTube exclusive content in this way. because I think of course, there's a ton of value in streaming, and I do enjoy doing a lot. Chat interaction is, basically a big part of why I enjoy streaming so much. But I think there's a ton of value in me basically going really, really deep in matches that I just play by myself. So there's nobody rushing me, and I can take my time and I can go play by play and figure out exactly what to do. And then for me to, of course, uninterrupted, talk about all the plays that I'm making and why I'm playing them. Of course, as usual, if you were enjoying the video and you have any kind of feedback for me, let me know in the comments. It's always very welcome. And if you haven't done so yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You can get notified whenever I upload new videos. And I am expecting to do much more YouTube exclusive content in the near future. So stay tuned for that. Have an amazing day and see you next time. Bye bye.